Hello and welcome to our session all about exercise. This is one of our sessions in the course for supporting the immune system. And Morgan, I am so excited to have you today. Morgan has actually been my friend for a really long time. I think we became friends when we were like 7 or 6 or something really young. We actually danced together, which is such a fun aspect of our lives. I know we both loved dancing. We were in duets and trios together. It was just a blast. So Morgan is now a doctor of physical therapy, which is so beyond impressive to me. It's crazy seeing your friends just like come and be these professional doctors and medical professionals. So Morgan, it's just a delight to have you today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for asking me. I felt honored, and I'm still, well, I guess I graduated in May of 2018, so I'm coming up on 2 years, but it still feels weird to hear that as like my title.
Yes. That's awesome. That's kind of how I feel when people refer to me as like an attorney when I'm outside of work. Because when you're in work, it feels normal. But then when you leave work, you're like, wait, it's like seeing a teacher outside of the school.
Definitely.
It's awesome. Well, the first question that I have for you this morning, we've been talking all about our immune system. And I was just curious what your perspective is on how does exercise impact our immune system?
Yes. So a lot of people have probably heard how exercise is medicine. So from a physical therapy perspective, like when we were in school, we learned like we are prescribing exercise. Like that is our medicine that we are giving our patients. So we take the kind of non-invasive approach. So we're trying to do things that you can do with your body in order to help your immune system. So there's so much research on the benefits of exercise. It's going to help improve your mental health and your mood. It's going to help promote better sleep, which Cindy talked about earlier in the week. It's going to help reduce risk of some types of cancer. It's going to reduce risk of heart disease, help prevent things like obesity, high cholesterol, like just the typical things that you hear that part of natural aging that might increase as you get older, but you can actually use exercise as a way to help prevent those things or at least lessen your risk to having those things happen in your life.
Wow, that is incredible. I love how you described exercise as a medicine as well. I've never heard it described that specifically, and I love that because it's like we are treating our body with what it needs, and that's really, really cool. Is there a specific exercise that is better than others?
That is another great question because a lot of people want to know like what's the best thing to do. And there's not specifically anything that's better than another. What the approach that we have is that everyone is different. Like everyone has their type of um, benefit that they get from whether it's yoga or for me personally, like I love running. But I think the best exercise for people is the one that they are going to do consistently. So it's trying to make a habit and make something that you are going to benefit from. So if you hate running, obviously don't do that as your exercise because you're going to end up being in a bad mood because you don't want to do it and you might not get the natural benefit just because you don't enjoy it. So I think finding the exercise that makes you feel better, both mentally and physically, is going to be the best exercise for you.
Wow, that's a great perspective because I know sometimes, like, if I'm planning to do an exercise I don't want to do, it's like, okay, like now I have to go do this or go like, and it's not as exciting. But when I'm doing something I love, I'm excited to do it. And like my endorphins go higher just with like my excitement working up to it as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I think and it can kind of, like, some people might take that to the extreme, like, oh well, I don't enjoy walking, so I shouldn't do it. But it's more so like just trying to push yourself outside of your boundaries. So maybe try something different, or don't just not do something because you haven't enjoyed it in the past. Like, it's still good to try new things, and especially if you have other people that are encouraging you and having the accountability to do those things as well.
Yeah, that is awesome. And if I'm not exercising now, so some of our listeners, like, or even myself, like, where is the best place for us to start exercising? What's one of the first things we should do?
Well, walking is kind of like the baseline that I often give people to do, because as long as you're, able-bodied and you have the ability to walk, it's going to be great for your cardiovascular fitness. So it's trying to get the blood flow pumping throughout your body. It's going to be getting to your lungs and your muscles. And you can start even like in your driveway. Say you don't want to actually like leave the area, you can just go back and forth outside in your driveway, or making laps around inside your house. But there's also things now that might not have been as available in the past, but I know a lot of people are doing like online classes and workout sessions. So maybe you did yoga in the past and now you have this ability to use Zoom or whatever platform to do a yoga class. I think basing your workouts on something that you've done previously is going to help keep you stay motivated. And then on the flip side of that, if you haven't done things in the past, maybe trying something um, different, this is a great opportunity to try to learn new things. But I think starting at a simple level of just like walking and trying to get your heart rate to increase is a great start.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know for me, like, I have been on Facebook. Some of my friends who are dance teachers have been doing dance classes on Facebook. It's just a really cool opportunity we have right now for community all across the world and the nation to be able to exercise like a little bit in a way together. So that's really cool. And right now you have all the fear about like going outside of your house. In your opinion, is it safe to exercise outside right now?
In my professional opinion, I think it is. Of course, you need to comply with whatever state you're living in and whatever kind of guidelines that they are having. In Virginia, we have, the social distancing, at least 6 feet apart through June 10th. And when I first heard that, I was like, holy cow, like that is so far away. Like, how am I going to survive, kind of thing. But I've had to kind of change my perspective and be like, well, hey, here's the things that I still can do. Like, I can still get outside as of right now. And for me personally, like, I love nature and I love being outside. So you can do that out in your driveway, in the lawn. Some people are going like to parks. What I've read on research lately, it's of course still complying with social distancing, keeping that at least 6 feet apart, if not more, and then minimizing the things that you are touching if you are in a public place. And then, of course, doing proper hygiene before and after you're leaving different places.
Yeah, that is so comforting to hear too. Last night, Erin, our PA, she actually talked about how we really need to up our increase of vitamin D. So, like, we need to be getting our sunshine as well. And with this beautiful weather, that's awesome. Just to be able to even just walk around your house if you don't want to go anywhere else, just like walk, pace your outside area. That's awesome. And then how can, we talked a little bit about this, but are there any creative ideas where we can exercise maybe with a friend in this time for maybe some accountability?
Yes, I think the using like Zoom and like having platforms like with a friend virtually. Obviously, that's going to be probably the easiest thing to do. I know they have recommended if you are growing out, ideally staying with your family or whoever you're living with, as to not like meet up and kind of cross contaminate kind of thing. But I know some people like really enjoy being outside. So I think I would say that like using the platforms would probably be, the safest thing to do right now. But also, I've not done personal research on coronavirus, and I'm not in you know any
Yeah.
kind of lab or doing that kind of stuff. So I tend to stay more on like the cautious end of things. But I do know that some people are, still meeting up outside, and you could do like a mini session out in a big park where you're really far apart, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know, so some of the people on a group I'm in, we're actually at the end of the month going to do a virtual class similar to this, but all about exercise. So if you are watching this video and you want me to add you to that as well, I know that that's going to be really fun. Kind of we have some like yoga, we have some Pilates, random exercises, just all sorts of aerobic stuff as well. So that should be really fun. And I know a lot of us are working from home right now, which I didn't realize. Working from home, I am literally sitting in this exact seat almost the whole day because all my clients are on the phone. Normally, I'd be walking back and forth in my office to grab my clients or interacting with staff. So I've been sitting so much more. How does that affect my immune system?
It does have a big role. So if you are sitting for longer periods, then you're going to be getting stiff in certain areas. You're going to be putting pressure on different areas. Since you're getting less blood flow, then your tissues aren't going to be getting like their natural healing properties that you get when you are moving. So your heart rate also won't change as much. And I've learned a lot about heart rate variability recently. So it basically is looking at, the lowest number that your heart rate is, you typically at rest or sleeping, compared to the highest number that it gets. And as it gets higher, it's typically when you're exercising and working out. So you want that to actually have a pretty high range throughout the day. Um, so you want to show like kind of bouts of increases in your heart rate, and that's going to help have like protective mechanisms just naturally throughout your body. So you're getting more blood flow to all of your tissues, all of your joints. One of the quotes that someone taught me was that motion is lotion. So you're moving and you're getting just the natural properties of movement into your joints to help ideally decrease pain. A lot of times I talk about pain because people are usually coming to me for that. And a lot of times people want to sit, they don't want to move because they are in pain. But then it starts this cycle where you are sitting and then you're not getting up. And then when you get up, it hurts to stand up because you've been in that position for so long. And then the more that it hurts, the less you want to do that. And then the less you want to do that, the less you move. And it's just kind of this constant cycle. So I think getting up and moving shows huge benefits throughout your body.
That is great advice. And I know that Young Living actually has some really incredible aids for like muscle tiredness, things like that. I pulled out some of my products. We have two oils that are really great, Peppermint and Panaway. We're actually going to have someone talk about these in the Facebook group, but Panaway feels like icy hot. I love to just like put some on the back of my neck. So like just drop some on the back of my finger and then rub it on the back of my neck, and it feels amazing. It smells like a lifesaver, like those minty lifesavers. It smells so good. And then peppermint is really similar. Morgan, I know that you had a little experience with the peppermint. And then we also have CBD oils now, which are all guaranteed seed to seal. There's a lot of CBD out on the market that is not guaranteed where it's being sourced from. Just like essential oils, it's really important that we're all getting those from pure sources, because you have no idea what those crops have been through. If they're covered in pesticides and then amplified in that oil, it's just really dangerous to not know the sourcing. So Young Living actually has a CBD muscle rub and some CBD oils that are great. I have heard incredible things about them, and I actually got to try them at convention as well, and they were phenomenal. So I was,
Hey, Jamie.
yeah,
Oh,
go ahead, Mom.
oh, sorry. Your video kind of paused on me there for a second. I wanted to also add a couple of my favorite products too. So one of the first things that I started using, thanks to Jamie, when I got started using essential oils, she sent me this wonderful roller ball called Deep Relief. And I was actually having chronic neck and back and shoulder and hip pain that I was going to physical therapy for. I was trying to exercise through it, but the pain just wasn't going away. And so I started using the Deep Relief on all of my sore, joints and muscles. And this was a game changer for me. So my chronic pain is actually resolved. I haven't had it in years, which changes my whole daily routine and my energy level and everything. Another product that I love to share with people is the Cool Azul. So this was kind of our pain gel before we had the muscle rub from the CBD line, but this is another great one that's all natural. It's all plant-based. So, but then also making your own roller balls, like with your Panaway and your Peppermint and things. It's great tools to take care of those sore spots so that you do feel comfortable moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when you had not gotten oils yet, I was like, Mom, just try this, please. Just like, let me put this on you. You will love it. And she's like, oh, I don't need those voodoo oils. And now look at you. So if you're hesitant, honestly, there's no harm in trying the oils. They're completely natural. So I would definitely recommend trying them out. So Morgan, are there any, talking about like getting up and moving throughout the day, are there any tips for working from home, maybe stretches we can do throughout the day?
Yes. And I was thinking I might be able to send you, Jamie, a little file that talks about like desk ergonomics. So like how should you be sitting at the desk? And that can also just change your comfort level throughout the day, just sitting properly at the desk. But one of the things that I will typically give people to do, especially if they're having neck pain, so I'll kind of sit from the side. So typically when you're sitting at the desk, like how often do we sit forward and like our head is really far forward? A lot of times you might be looking for something and you're like, what is that saying? And your head is just really far forward, and you have muscles in the back of your head that get really tight. So one of the exercises is called a chin tuck. So a lot of people, you look funny when you're doing this. So a lot of times people hate doing it when they're in the office because they're like, people are staring at me and like, what is that girl doing? But you're basically trying to see like how many chins you can make. So you're basically like pushing your chin back. What I tell people is like, if there was like a string behind your head and someone was just pulling it directly behind you, you're trying to pull your head back like that. So if you're sitting, you're just pulling your head back and then relaxing. Your head isn't going like up or down at all. you're just what we call retracting it, so pulling it back. You can also do this like while you're laying down in bed, like if you have a pillow behind and you're just pushing your head into the pillow. So what that's trying to do is stretch the back of the neck. It's trying to also strengthen the front of your neck, because since we are often so tight and in this position all the time, then the muscles in the front get weak. And then that can also lead to other issues like having kind of numbness or tingling like down in the arms. And of course, there's lots of different tests that we would, have to do in the physical therapy clinic. But that's just a general stretch that you can do throughout the day to help keep your neck in a good posture. What I often correlate that to is like if you think about your head. So if my head was like this, my fist, and then this is your neck, your head is similar to like a bowling ball. So if you are sitting like this all day, nice and good posture, like it's going to feel normal. You're not really going to have any aches or pains or stiffness. But the further your head is forward, the more tension you're going to feel in your neck. And it's actually because of the force of gravity, it's going to feel like 35 pounds instead of 10 pounds, even though your head obviously isn't getting bigger. It's just the force from it being further out from that axis.
Wow.
And another thing that kind of go along with that is just pulling like your shoulder blades but together behind you. So if you're thinking about like there's a pencil in between your shoulder blades and you're trying to pinch that together, and you can do it where you're trying to hold that position for a little bit, or you can do 10 at a time where you're just kind of squeezing your shoulder blades together. That's going to open up your chest and then strengthen the muscles in the back, because it's similar when we're forward, your pecs for the muscles in the front are going to get tight, and then the muscles in the back are getting looser and weaker. So you're trying to offset that, squeeze your shoulder blades together, and that will also help with your nice sitting posture throughout the day.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sure our phones have not helped either, since we're constantly like, I think of how I text, I'm like looking at like all crunched over. So those are great exercises. Are there any that we should do like standing up, and do any as well?
Yeah, so when you're standing, really anything to keep you moving. I just like to keep the blood flow throughout the day. You can do heel raises or calf raises. So if you're standing and you're just raising your heels up and down, that's going to strengthen your calves. It's also going to help with any kind of swelling in your legs, because sometimes if you've been sitting for a while, the blood is going to kind of pool down to the lowest portion to the ground. So your calves will pump, and it's going to pump blood flow as well as any swelling up towards your heart. And then with that, there are obviously certain medical cases where swelling is an issue, but this is just talking about general strengthening of your calves and helping with any swelling that you might get in your legs throughout the day.
Oh, that is so helpful, Morgan. Now I want to go just keep doing my couple chin exercises and holding the pencil. Those are so helpful. I'll definitely be implementing those even today as we finish up this class, because I've been sitting more as well here. So how often, if we're sitting and we have a sedentary job, how often should we be trying to get up or moving throughout the day?
Yeah. I typically suggest people to get up at least every hour. So if you have your phone on you or an alarm clock or something, and just set it every hour, and then that's going to force yourself to get up. If you have, it would be even more beneficial if you have an alarm clock somewhere, so that you have to get up and walk to turn it off every hour. Because if it is on your phone, you can just be like, okay, we need to turn that off. And so I think getting up walking around. You can even do some like air squats, or like do some walking lunges, or anything like bringing your knees to your chest as you're walking, kind of like what people call high knees, or kicking your heel towards your bottom, so that your joints are getting just that natural lubrication through the movements.
Awesome. That is so helpful, Morgan. I am so grateful for all this incredible information that you've shared. A little bit about a few more supplements that I wanted to mention that it will help with people who might be feeling fatigued after exercising. Even like just implementing these small movements might cause your body to be like, whoa, wait a minute, we're not used to this.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this supplement. It's called Amino Wise, and it's actually a powder. It is wolfberry lemonade flavor. It tastes so good, and it has amino acids, and it helps with muscle recovery and performance. This also has zinc in it, which goes along with what Erin had talked to us about last night. Super Cal Plus is a calcium supplement, which is great for your bone health, and it also has vitamin D and vitamin K and calcium and magnesium. And then Agiles is a great one that I really like. Agiles is a supplement that supports cartilage and joint function. So if you're feeling like tightness, this one is great to also implement with the stretches and movements. And it has a bunch of different supporting things in it, that like oils and turmeric and all collagen. I mean, it has so many things in it that are so helpful and all natural. So this has been so helpful. Morgan, is there anything else you wanted to add for us before we wrap up?
I think kind of going along with, you might be sore after doing things, like try to go easy. Like sometimes when you have more time, then you're like, well, I'm just going to go on like a 2-hour walk, and I haven't walked that long in a long time, so like just try to be strategic about it. Like do like shorter either distances or shorter time frames. Like, oh, I'm just going to do some movement for like 5 minutes, and then see how you feel throughout the day. And the next day, we kind of have like a 24 to 48 hour window where you're going to have a delay, what some people call DOM, so it's delayed onset muscle soreness. So if you do like a really hard workout, you'll feel it later on, and that is normal. But if it's like really painful, or if you kind of just do it overboard, just be mindful that your body, it likes to take things slowly, and it's going to have to take time to recover from that.
Oh, that is so helpful, Morgan. It has been a joy chatting with you today. Do we have any questions before we wrap up? I think I have one text, so let me just make sure. I think we're good. We do have one in the chat. What would you recommend a good heart rate to be to get exercise?
That is a good question. So it kind of depends on your age. So if you, there's kind of like a simple formula. If you take the number 220 and you subtract your age from it, that's going to be like your max heart rate. So when you're trying to get an aerobic exercise, that's when you're kind of going more for, like, you could do it for a while and you're having your heart rate up, but it's not super intense. You can take that number and do a percentage of that. So anywhere between like 50 to 70% of that is like a good range for like doing an aerobic exercise. And then if you are doing more of like a HIIT workout, or where it's like more intense, then that's where you can get from like 75 to 85% of your heart rate max. So that 220 minus your age would be your heart rate max. And so trying to get off of a percentage for that, because obviously it's different depending on your age.
Perfect. And do we have any other questions right before we wrap up? Think we are good. So Morgan, thank you so much for giving us some of your Saturday. I know I feel so much inspired, so much more inspired. I'm gonna like go walk around my neighborhood after this. Tucker will be appreciative, my little dog, so that we can get some exercise moving. And for everyone who's gonna join the next session, we have our next session. It's actually at a different time. It is at 3 p.m. Eastern time or noon Pacific time. So if you're planning to join live, we can't wait to see you. We're gonna do a wrap up and our giveaway for our full bottle of Thieves Cleaner. We cannot wait to draw that person. And you guys have a bunch of entries, but if you wanna go get some extra entries, make sure you go comment on all the posts on Facebook, and those entries will close at 2 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Pacific, so that we have time to count them up and make sure everyone is entered. So thank you guys for joining, and Morgan, thank you again so much for your time today. We are so grateful.
You're welcome. It was fun.